o'clock.
One minute.
I'm so sorry. Who's first, Mr. Reed? Are you first? Okay. Yeah, Peter. Okay, Mr. Smith.
Hey, Rita.
Yes. Almost.
Sorry. Is there a better place for these?
No. No, I guess we could move them over there. Let me move them
Put
over.
them there so the audience can see them if need be. Let's wait a minute, let's move.
We have a few.
Screens.
Okay.
They only care about their own.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest. I'm all ready now.
Okay.
The equipment's ready.
Ready? Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. Rita, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Murphy?
Yeah.
Mr. Doherty?
Here.
Mrs. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Roche?
Here.
Chairman Smith?
Here.
And let the record show that Town Manager Dunham and Assistant Town Attorney Navarro and myself, the Town Clerk, are also present.
Thank you, Rita. Everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the prior meeting. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Not that I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes presented to the ARPB meeting of Thursday, December the 8th, 17th, 2020.
And I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Rita?
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Mr. Roche?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Thank you. Does anyone have any additions, withdrawals, deferrals, or any other changes to the agenda items as presented? There's 4 items today.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We are withdrawing item number 4 from this agenda.
We're gonna be deferring that to the next meeting.
It'll stay on here. We'll defer when we get to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Under announcements, you see the future meeting dates. The next meeting is February 25th, and then March 25th, April 22nd. If anybody on the board is not going to be able to attend those meetings, please let Rita know as soon as possible. If there's nothing else at this time, we'll move into the public hearing. Does anyone have any declaration of ex parte communication on the items 1 through 3 today?
No.
No?
No.
Rita, would you administer the oath to anyone who is here today that's going to speak?
Certainly. Anyone that thinks they might speak, please stand and raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with the first item on the agenda, which is an application submitted by Maureen Smith, landscape architect, for a home at 2910 Gulfstream Road.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The students contacted me because they wanted a more usable space in their backyard. I've got a couple of pictures here of existing conditions. It's a beautiful home. They renovated it extensively inside, the facade, but the backyard doesn't really work very well because of where the pool was placed. It's very close and tucked up. There's maybe 3 feet between the walls of the back of the house and the pool. So you kind of got to maneuver around and follow the pattern of the path of the pool very tight to the walls of the back of the house, and you can see that in this photo. Very hard to navigate when you're carrying, anything. So I showed you a couple of pictures. This is looking towards the southeast from the back corner of the property toward the house. This is just giving you an idea of how everything is tucked in and real close. There's an existing awning that they use for covered patio right now. Back towards the back property line, which is the west property line, they have a big patio area where they have their dining table. And that's what they do, they're eating at, they're dining out. It's pretty far away from the house and the kitchen. It's not very close. They probably would use it more if it was tucked closer to the house. This is under the canopy canvas that they have. It's got like a living room set of furniture. It's right off of their family home. This is just an idea, inspiration photos of what we want to achieve. So they called me in and asked me to help them reimagine the pool and their usable patio spaces. So this is kind of an inspiration of where they want to go with the pool. So back here where I'm standing taking this photo on this area here where there's an existing patio, there will be more green space and pavers set in grass joints to take them around to a slightly raised jacuzzi, which would be on the left-hand side, on the west side, and I'll show you that next. And this is the type of pergola that they absolutely want to use, the style, the look. And it won't be covered, it'll just be like a pergola with a fireplace, and they actually already have the existing furniture that's in this photo, so it's very, very exciting to move forward with that design. Now I'm going to show you the existing site plan. This is their backyard, and this is the total area that is covered in pavers right now, so I can orient you guys. This is the edge of the building or the house. Right here, there's a line. So it really gives you like 3 feet to navigate this awkward little path to get you around. The easiest way to come out of the kitchen with beverages and food and whatever you want to do, whatever you want to bring with you. So our thought was to move the pool to the pool setback on the south side or add to it, not move it. To the south side and the west side, just expand the pool south and west as far as we can. One of the client's comments was that she and her daughter would be floating around and totally bumping into each other the whole time because the pool is really kind of small. It's more for a condo or a townhouse or a zero lot line. It's a very small, compact pool. So we wanted to give them more options on what they can use it for family and friends. So I don't know if anybody and here's the awning that attaches to the house. Does anybody have any questions regarding how it looks currently or the layout? We can move into what we're proposing. Okay. All right, so the dashed line shows the extent of the work that we're proposing. Really, what's on the sides here is all going to stay, and what's here is all going to stay. Now, we did discuss adding swales for drainage. However, the house does have gutters, and it all comes down in one spot in the back, and it goes underground, and it leads out and comes out in the alley in the back of the house. But we're adding swales everywhere where there's lawn. We're going to do a gentle slope to capture anything that, any heavy rainstorm would do, like the surplus of whatever else, that was one of the concerns that we addressed. Okay, so this little dashed line here is the existing pool. Now we're moving it a little this way, south, and a little that way. So we're going to be on the 12-foot setback on the south and the 15-foot setback on the west. The hedge material, all the hedges are gonna stay. We're adding wider steps because there's a very small little step area that's on an angle over here that it's small for one person to navigate, let alone, having a family over. We're filling in part of the pool here so that this is easier to maneuver around. We're adding, a splash pad, a nice shallow area where they can put little chairs in or a swing or whatever they wanna do. And, we've got seating along the west side and then a new jacuzzi, fit in the pool there. So we're increasing the pool slightly on two sides. Now, where we had the patio that was hard surface, the entire patio, now it's going to be grass and, 2x2 pavers instead. We also surrounded the pool, the coping on two sides with a 12-inch grass band to green it up also. And down here, which extends in outside of the family room to the, on the west side, we're incorporating that pergola, the beautiful white pergola that I showed you, with the fireplace, off of the north half of it, and just dining area on the south half, to create a bigger outdoor space that they can use, that would provide a little more shade than what they have now, to use, in the hotter weather. So we're actually adding more grass here and, palm trees, ground covers, and a large focal point in the southwest corner, because all the views kind of go towards the pool. And then we're just refreshing the existing landscaping. We're not taking out the existing palms. We're gonna add some ground covers and fill it in with a couple of, architectural pieces with texture and color. And, that's basically the project, what we want to accomplish. Does anybody have any questions?
Does the new pool require larger equipment, pool equipment? I see where it's located at the moment on the plan would be the same noise, low noise, greater noise.
You mean the pool equipment?
Yeah.
It's gonna be in the same place that it is now, but we're not to the point where she's hired a pool contractor yet, because we want to get the approval first before she.
Yeah, I just wondered, because you're putting a jacuzzi in, I just wondered if there's any requirements for larger pool equipment and if that has noise implications.
That,
You don't know.
I think the pump and the pool equipment is quieter than in the past. I mean, there's much quieter equipment out there. I don't,
Okay.
I'm not an expert on that, but it'll be state of the art and brand new, the whole system that they're gonna do. And I think they're gonna do salt water instead of, I don't know if they thought about that. Yeah.
Are there any, neighbor comments?
No, I received none.
Any other questions or comments?
It does. Yeah, exciting.
Thank you.
Is the landscaping on the west side going to stay the same? Those are palms, there's a ficus hedge, you said. How tall is the ficus hedge
Pretty
now?
tall, I think
Yeah,
it's like
okay, so
10 feet.
No, at least 10 or 12 feet.
Okay, and what's in front of it, those are palms, they're,
Yeah, we wanted to add a little bit of life. She's really, embraced the Palm Beach style in the house. It's lovely. And, but it's very, very chiseled and very plain back there. So we just wanted to do a lower border of, let's say, Ficus Green Island, because they have maintained the hedge pretty nicely, but over time, that hedge does get a little leggy at the bottom. So you can actually see down into it's like a pit back there. It's not just an alley, it's like sunken. So, to keep from seeing down in there when you're out in the backyard, that would be nice to have a low, the Green Island ficus doesn't have any of the problem of white flyer, and it's not even a heavy maintenance plant. So it's perfect. It's like the perfect plant. So we're gonna do a nice clipped low border of that, and then just single, Christmas palms. The Adonidia palms in a row, just to add a little life and color and, little movement and pattern to the back, just to lighten that up a little bit. And then we're wanting to use like a Sylvester pond in that back corner, something that really, it's like the focal point and a little wow factor with, a couple of, Queen Emmas and then, a little shrubbery down at the bottom. So we're using Green Island Ficus, we're using the, Adonidia palm, Pringles, which is the dwarf, Podocarpus, and then Sylvester, so I don't know if you guys have that in the back. And that's the whole palette. It's
Can I
pretty
ask you-
beautiful there now, and when I walked in, I'm like, what are we doing? What do we need to do here? And then I started looking at the functionality of the pool, and it's really a micro-sized pool for the house. And, this would actually, because she has adult kids and family, and, it's just, everybody's bumping into each other in the pool, it's just not.
For the water retention, you mentioned a minute ago about the swales. They are not there now, but you're going to create swales. You're going to...
It's very slight, you can see it, it just, when the lawn is mowed, you can see just so that, I didn't do any,
Are
water.
we gonna do any new work on them, or are they gonna stay the way they
No,
are?
they're gonna get a
Okay, all right, and
little.
both the whole northeast and the whole south, okay.
Yeah, so
Northwest,
it's just gonna
south.
be very, very gentle,
Okay.
and then we'll just replace the grass and.
Good, okay. In both
Yeah,
locations.
on the north and the south side of the, wherever we have lawn.
Mr. Chairman, the staff had asked them to.
Same thing, okay, good. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? No, if not, could we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve a level 2 architectural site plan based on a finding that the renovation of the pool and patio that will include enlarging the existing pool, removing the existing canvas awning, constructing a pergola, a small shade area and a fireplace, and additional landscaping materials and pavers that are included, meets the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards with the following conditions. 1. Any minor modifications in the approved landscaping should be submitted to the town manager for review and approval.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Is there any questions or comments? Rita, please.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Yes. Mr. Roche?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I see Carlos is here. Carlos, you're up. Doing 2 and 3. Are we going to take these one at a time?
Yes.
Yes,
It should be,
Yeah, you did.
Yes.
Carlos, introduce yourself, and also, we're dealing with 2929 first.
Yes, that is correct. Good morning, my name is Carlos Linares, I'm with Randall Stuff Architects. Presenting to you today 2929 North Ocean Boulevard. This is a project that the architecture has been approved, it's under construction. Today, we're coming, for an approval of a site, privacy wall, same time it's also a retaining wall. The original plan, the original site plan was approved with a privacy fence with a, landscape, privacy hedge along the north wall. There is a beach access on the north side of our property. Obviously, this is a privacy issue for our client. At some point, he wanted a privacy wall rather than a hedge. He just felt a little bit more secure, and it appears that it is a very typical thing to do in Gulfstream as well. So that is what we are proposing. We're proposing to build a concrete wall along the north side of the property. Obviously, the first 50 feet is what needs to be approved, specifically with you guys. Obviously, we're trying to do the whole entire wall, all the way to the rear of the property. It will step back as is required towards the back of the property, to be a maximum of 4 feet is I believe what Gulfstream would allow us to do. The rest of the wall would become 8 feet maximum, no more than that. The CMU wall will be finished the same way that the approved wall is being finished on the west side, which is the front of the property. It will just be a continuation of the already approved wall. We do have a little bit of landscape as well that, may have been tweaked, and, we could also discuss that today. That's pretty much it.
I have a question. You said the landscape that you're talking about, is that anything that would grow over in a beach access area?
Mark Jacobson from DS Boca is here as well. He's the landscape architect for the project. He would be able to answer any landscape questions.
Hi, good morning. Mark Jacobson. What the client, as you know, this was built as a spec home originally. Now that it has an owner, or will have an owner, he's asked to customize a few things. One of the things that he asked was to provide a continuous clusia hedge to a minimum of 6 to 7 feet in height along that north wall. Even though we're providing an 8-foot wall, we're actually adding a clusia hedge too. He's a very private person. He's also asked us to add additional landscaping from what was originally approved. For example, if you look at that drawing over there, you can see everything that's shaded in pink. On the top of the drawing, we added 3 additional coconut palms. On the bottom, we added several more green buttonwoods and increased the height and size of them to create buffers on both the north and south side of the property. All of it's maintainable and manicured, so it won't be hanging into the public access. The other thing that he modified was at the entry sort of gatehouse, we had I believe it was a Sylvester date palm. He has a particular liking for Bismarckia palms. He likes the silver frond, so we made one minor change, swapping out the palm type. Otherwise, it's been the same.
Why is it only 50 feet? Why is the wall only 50 feet?
No, the wall is the whole length of the north property.
Yeah.
But I believe by code, you guys look at the first 50 feet. That is correct.
That's the North Ocean Boulevard corridor.
Okay.
Runs 50 feet into each
That's all
property.
here, okay.
In the right of way, right? Anyone? On the other side.
It goes to contribution.
While you're pointing,
This is 10 scale, so 1, 2, 3, 4. It's approximately this location from here, and this is the garage to the front.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Right, approximately, right.
Plus or minus.
Yeah,
remind me, it's 8 feet already at the road. The road
That is
height is
correct.
gonna be
Yeah,
8 feet,
yeah.
so you're gonna tie into that on the northwest corner and then run back. Are you gonna have to fill in to keep the 8 feet of wall? You're gonna have to bring fill in on the,
There is a
on this
little bit of
property?
there will be a little bit of fill on the, towards the east of that 50 feet of it. That area is specifically designated for a septic field, so we're not able to, put in too much fill in there. There's limited to how much because that field has to be pretty much leveled, is what is required. We are proposing probably to be no more than 12 inches at that point, at that particular point. There will be fill towards the back, towards the house. That is why it's mainly retaining wall towards the back of the house than on the front.
One of my concerns would be if we were in the right of way, would the wall be higher than 8 feet? I mean, it's not gonna be 8 feet on the house side and 12 feet on the other side where you feel like.
So the lowest grade is the beach access. On the property side, it's actually higher. So it's the other way around. It's
Okay.
8 feet on the beach access side.
Is there going to be any planting on the beach access side so that you don't just have a cement wall all the way to the beach?
We're not able to touch that beach access, that does not belong to the property.
Yeah,
That's public right away.
I mean, which is really a condition of where you place the wall. I mean, if you place the wall slightly inside that, you would be able to make it a little bit more attractive entrance to the beach, correct?
I'm not quite sure if that's ever been discussed, or if that is a requirement from the town. We're going up to our property, and it was the same way with the fence. The fence was going up to the property as well. So no, we have never discussed that, pushing that back. Obviously, that will take away from their property.
Yeah. Is there any regulation on putting up a fence such that the neighbor is not dispossessed or something by the look of a fence? You know, when you're building a fence in a lot of housing areas, the outside of the fence that faces the neighbor's property usually has to be the attractive side of the fence. And do we have that regulation in our?
Well, what we have are the types of fencing that can be used,
It depends on the type of fencing, and I don't believe the
Okay,
code
but
requires.
this is just gonna be a cement wall.
and that's okay.
Okay.
What's the finishing then? I mean, just a cement wall would be.
It's stucco paint, that is the same as the, west.
What sort of finish would it be, white?
Yes, it is.
And there's a small cap, right?
That is correct. That is also correct.
Do we know, is it just a fence on the 10 feet north of that, of course, and, there's another property owner. There's just a fence, it's shown here, it's not a wall, it's a fence, a little fence, okay.
But that property just sold, so I wouldn't be surprised that a wall comes, which I think would be good.
Rita, did we have any comments from the neighbors?
No.
I see we have some neighbors here. Have you reviewed and seen these plans? Yes, Betsy?
We haven't seen the plans, but I can totally understand why they would like to have privacy.
Right.
And is the wall directly on the property line?
It's on the property line, that is correct.
Because it's only a 10-foot easement, and the property on the north side, it has overgrown a bit.
Mhm.
And I have walked with great difficulty that easement for over 45 years, every year. And it's very important to us. I worry, what will it look like as it approaches the beach? You said that it can only be 4 feet at a certain level.
That is correct. I believe per code, 15 feet back from the eastern or more, construction line has to be only 4 feet.
So you just do a total step down?
That is
and
correct.
out?
That is correct.
Yeah, our concern would be this could be a cement tunnel, that's Bessie, because it could happen on the
I
north
agree.
side too, and then
No,
you've
I
got
agree.
two 8-foot walls with only a 10-foot space. It's hard to imagine it, but it's gonna be pretty walled in there. That's what our concern is. It's not the privacy issue. So you're assuring us that the sand, the height of the sand for the first 50 feet will be the same level inside the wall as outside the wall. We're not gonna infill the inside to meet the 8-foot standard, but if I go on the path that we're referring to, it's 9 or 10 feet tall.
No, it will be no more than 8 feet from the lowest grade.
And you do realize that in today's conditions of high tides, the sand is coming in often onto that property line, at least at the easement level.
Well,
Sand comes in on a very high tide. The tides are high enough now so that that property is not as, doesn't go as far east as it used to.
So Carlos, is it not a true statement to say that on the original approved plan, there was a small retaining wall with a fence on top of it in this current location?
No, there was a fence only. So just to, get a little bit more in detail as far as where the walls are in height, at the very beginning of on the west side, the wall actually, we're proposing that wall to be at elevation 20. The beach access is at 13.4. So it's actually a little bit less than 7 feet already, correct? As you're going down towards the back of the beach access, the lowest point that we had is 12.8. Is the beach access, the existing grade, which obviously we're not touching that at all. The wall is still continuous at elevation 20. So it's still lower than 8 feet, at that point. It's 7.4 feet in height. So that's the lowest point. You're getting closer to the dune, that elevation of the beach access goes up again. Okay, the wall itself remains at a same height all the way throughout. So that dune elevation is at 14.7 already. So we're getting closer to 6 feet at that point. So, you know, the beach access goes up and down, but the wall remains at, we're saying no more than 8 feet, because obviously that is what the code requires. But it actually, if you're looking at it, it never goes even to 8 feet on the beach axis. Now, on our property starts at the same elevation as the beach axis, but we are bringing in some fill, and it will become a little bit of a retaining wall. So at some points, that wall becomes, you know, maybe 5 feet or so on our side. So that's sort of the criteria that we're trying to maintain, and you know, obviously the landscape part of it is better if we're trying to keep a certain elevation consistent on our side as well.
Carlos, my concern is that, not unlike your project up at 3565, which I have walked, and I see that there is a wall that has already been built there that makes it look like a penitentiary going through that alley. The south side wall that you have built up at 3565, you're aware, you know, which is a beach access again.
We don't want to jump it really.
Which is our next.
I know, but they're very, the two projects are very identical. And that wall has already been built, so I'm a little bit concerned about how this wall, if it ends up looking like the one that has already been built, it makes you feel like you are walking through a corridor in a prison.
Mhm.
If the wall is so high. How high is that wall over there?
It cannot be any more than 8 feet.
Well, it is. I guarantee it is.
I
walked, you know,
It shouldn't. Obviously, the town will not allow us to do that.
Well, I don't know if anyone's been out to look at it, but it is higher than 8.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could all confirm, obviously, we have to do, grades and all of that. There has to be a survey that stipulates what the height of that wall is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, it's
Exactly.
not allowed.
Well, I walked it yesterday, and, you know, maybe I've gotten smaller, but it certainly looks a whole lot higher than 8 feet. But, somebody should go on out and take a look at that. Maybe we'll have to have that wall redone or something.
We'll make.
Yeah, that obviously has to be confirmed, absolutely, we can talk about that.
Taking that into consideration, I am concerned with how this wall could end up looking like the wall that you've already constructed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, you know, the neighbors who walk that alleyway to the beach all the time, you know, I want them to feel like it's an attractive access to the beach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And typically, the building inspectors would be doing that, but I will get with the building officials in Delray Beach, and I don't know if we can do an interim, inspection, but the sooner the better.
I mean, if it's presentable, fine, I'm happy with it, but, you know, I am concerned with the way this other one looks.
Well, I mean, my question actually to you, because I haven't walked the site anytime recent, is it a finished product already, or, you know, once it's finished, obviously it's going to be definitely appealing. So I'm not sure whether you're only concerned with the height, but the aesthetics of it as well?
I'm concerned with the height.
Okay, well, the height we could definitely confirm, just like Greg said.
Yeah.
The building inspector should be able to
all
confirm that.
it's all cement block right now. I presume it's going to be covered on the
Yeah,
outside.
absolutely.
So that it looks
Yeah,
like,
it's unfinished, so that maybe that's what your eye is being attracted to, the unfinished wall as well.
my eye is attracted to the height.
Okay,
Okay. Go ahead, George.
Okay.
So now that you brought that up, that wall steps down like this. Is the wall at 2929 going to just be a gravel, so there's also going to be?
No, it's all, and I'm not sure, and I cannot recall what the grades are, for 3565. Maybe that's a little bit more drastic, slope. This is not, it goes maybe a 2-foot variation between where you are on the beach axis, but the wall is going to be at the same elevation. And, you know, I went over the elevations. It doesn't get any more than around 7 feet, actually.
Right.
If you're exact, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Betsy?
I have a question. I do.
Can you come up here, please? I'm sorry, for the minutes, I need you on the microphone.
Okay,
And I need your last name.
Fogarty.
Okay.
Obviously, we wouldn't want a concrete tunnel. You know, I can see this, the walkway easement directly from our front door. It's absolutely opposite our front door. I'm worried a little bit. I don't know if you realize that in front of that property, there's an 8-foot seawall. That in the days, you know, doesn't seem so long ago, but there used to be a ladder at the easement and a ladder in front of that house. So that area has changed a great deal in the last 40 years. What is the wall going to do to the dunes that are building up there? I think that's a consideration we need to take into account. that this wall may in some way damage the line ecologically.
Well, again, this wall is going perpendicular to the dune, so it's not interfering with the dune at all.
Oh, well, you know, there are also these perpendicular barriers all along that beach that have been buried for years.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that perpendicular affects it just as much as horizontal. So that's just a question, I don't know. I don't know if it has to be looked at from that point of view or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and that may be a coastal engineer that would be able to help us out in
I think that might be
that
important.
aspect. But I'm not quite sure what it does to the dune. To me, it doesn't affect it in any way, just because, like I said, it's just perpendicular to that.
Well, it keeps
and-
movement, prevents movement north to south.
Just like I explained earlier before, that the town of Gulfstream also does not permit that wall to be higher than 4 feet, so it already stepping down at that point anyway, so it's much less of an impact to the dune because of that regulation from the town.
Where will it step down? I thought you said it's gonna be 20 feet from front to back.
So the town of Gulfstream, dictates, specifically says that you need to, correct me if I'm wrong, Rita, but, is I believe 15 feet back from the,
15 feet.
easternlymost, construction line.
Which is going to be where the current seawall is there, the buried seawall.
That is correct. So it steps down.
That's all, just there. 8 feet it could be as high as 8 feet to there, and then it steps down to 4 feet.
Well, obviously, the dune is already, at its highest, so it's already at 6 feet, from the beach access at that point, and then it steps down, so it almost looks like it's going to be just a 2-foot step down.
Carlos, why, on everything I'm reading, it, on this 10-foot easement, it refers to it as a possible 10-foot pedestrian access.
That's how it came in the survey, but obviously, we all know that it's a beach access.
Can we get rid of the word possible and all these plans?
Sure. That's outside our property line, you know, but yeah.
I'd like it removed.
Yeah.
It's not possible, it is.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay.
We have it right here.
That's why we're here, is to make sure we respect
That, yeah.
Yes.
that easement, which is official.
Right.
Mr. Dunham, who maintains those pedestrian rights of way? Does the town maintain them?
No, sir.
What happens, like Mrs. Fogarty says, they just grow in, you go in there with hedge clippers and nip them down?
We actually put together a consortium, thanks to Bob, and others in the Shubins, and I think we have 11 people who subscribe to our cost of cleaning it, clearing it.
Right.
But it still needs work.
It does. It does.
Are there any other questions or comments? Do you want to delay until we could hear from a coastal engineer? Anybody have any thoughts or opinions?
Just to go over the interface between the wall and the beach area, is that impacted in any way by what we approved at the last meeting, the state comprehensive flood drainage? I just thought, you know, through the minutes we went through the coast management, we approved.
That is still pending before the state, but we haven't taken official final action on that, so
nothing
that would not
which
apply.
would impact the point of the interface between the wall and the beach. You don't know that. Is that correct?
That modification would be irrelevant to our consideration.
And let me make sure, we really are only approving at this meeting the first 50 feet?
Correct.
Okay, so a lot of those concerns that are addressed down at the ocean aren't really being undertaken with this request. Okay. Can we have a motion to approve?
Yeah. In that case.
Or not approve?
Not approve. But I would like to make a motion to approve a level 2 architectural site plan based on a finding that the construction of a wall within the North Ocean Boulevard overlay district, which shall not exceed 8 feet in height, as measured from the lowest abutting grade within the west 50 feet along the north property line and to amend the approved landscape plan for the North Ocean Boulevard Overlay District meets the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards with the following conditions. 1, any minor modifications to the approved landscaping should be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications should be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval before commencement of landscaping.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? And I just wanted to point out that the motion does say that it's measured from the lowest abutting grade, which would mean not only on the property, but outside of the property. So they can't be 10 feet wall on the, the right-of-way side and 7.5 feet on the inside. So we have to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. All right, Rita, would you, do a roll call?
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Dougherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Roche?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman, yesterday, in fact, on a lot, that a new stick mill house is being built on in the core, where they've graded it, subject to the new FEMA finished floor elevation requirements. So they've graded it, to the point where we're ready to pour, the concrete. And there was a question about that, and so I was, in fact, able to meet with the civil engineer of record for that lot, to go out there and actually met, with some of the neighbors, ensure that it was at the right elevation. So I'm more than willing to meet with the civil engineer of record, on this project, to go out and just, shoot some.
And we have some good neighbor eyes there too that'll watch it. I'm afraid of the tunnel effect because we're probably going to be hearing a wall on the south side of the other property at some time too. Okay, well, we'll give Carlos a minute before we move to number 3.
Do we need to think about the hospital on here? Changing that?
Oh, I don't, these aren't legal binding, records. This is just the architectural plans from Randy
Plus,
Shaw, I
the
think.
comments are in the record. So.
Yeah, but you're right. I don't think it shows that way. I don't think it reads that way on the real.
That is not a survey of
Right.
their property, so what they're doing is depicting something that they don't really have ownership to, so I think it's irrelevant to that purpose.
Yeah, but it's a good question, but I don't think it's formally there. Oh, I'm sorry, Carlos, you ready? Item number 3, which is, again, a residence being built very close to here, 3565 North Ocean Boulevard. Go ahead, Carlos.
So 3565, the same way, it's a project that has been approved by the town and under construction. It was also, it started as a spec residence. We do now have a owner that is requesting some additional items to be changed. Between the gate structure and the home itself, there's a variation of elevations. And so the steps have been approved previously within the ARB. But we now are proposing some additional retaining walls between the two structures as well. Some is items that the homeowner had requested, some herb gardens, and in order to enhance that, there's been some walls that have to be added, and also a safety railing to guard between the two changes of grades. In addition to, we are also proposing a retaining wall on the west side of the garage. Again, this is a septic field, also requirement that they wanted the field to be somewhat level, and there's a specific elevation that they requested, therefore creating a retaining wall. The retaining wall that we're proposing is also will also have a fence or a guardrail to protect from somebody from falling between the two grades. We are grading a little bit on that septic field, and we will be grading, so no more than 8 feet of of the composition of the wall and the railing is no more than 8 feet in height between on the lowest level. Much more of this is not going to be visible from the road, but still, you know, is something that we have to present to the board and get the approval. Some of the landscape also changes because of this, and actually, well, the walls are becoming are a requirement due to the landscape changes. So it's the other way around. I'm sorry. We also have the landscape architect here, that he could also talk about what the changes, the changing intent for this area is to be as well.
So can you point out to us what you're proposing to change?
So what I was explaining, the difference in grades between the garage and the gate structure here. The garage itself is at 14, the gate itself is at 10, and that's the way that it was approved. It was also approved that we would have steps coming down from the motor court down to the gatehouse. So this is the plan that was previously approved with the town. This is what we are intending to do, keeping the steps the same way, raising a little bit of the wall, maybe about only 6 inches in here, and also putting a fence. This will become an herb garden that Mark could speak to us about a little bit more. So what happened is that this is the septic field that is going to be installed. And septic field does not allow us to do too much grading on that area there. That would allow us to go from the existing grade from 6.5 up to 8.5 maximum. That's the maximum grade that they would allow us to do for the septic field. Therefore, between the 8.5 and the 13, we need to retain that dirt. In addition to that, by code, you need to have a guardrail between the two elevations as well. So we are proposing to have that guardrail there present. So it will be the guardrail, the retaining wall that only extends probably about 4 or 5 feet beyond the garage corner, and then just returns, and then we will be able to grade there, not a problem. The same thing with the fence over here. It's more of a safety feature, and the garden, the herb garden that we're introducing there. That's pretty much.
In the first sketch, did that wall you just talked about where you're gonna put the guardrail on top, did it tie into the gatehouse like it's going to now, or is that part of the new proposal?
So, behind the platform,
Right in there, that section.
between the stairs, there was no guardrail there before, because we were intending for that grade to go up to the garage elevation. But because we're having to maintain that grade down lower, that also requires a fence. So that is not a wall, that is just a fence at that point.
Is this like an aluminum railing?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, it's aluminum railing.
So those are the only proposed changes, are those inner property?
That is correct.
Okay. You're just creating different levels and some planting areas?
Yes, sir.
What's the outdoor shower? That's just a small addition? Is that was in the previous plan?
That, we call it an outdoor shower, and we have like a square for it, but it does not have a drain. Obviously, you're not allowed to drain back into the sewage system. It is just a, sort of like a placeholder for the owners to know that they could put a faucet or or a shower head at that location, but it's not actually built that way.
I was just thinking back here. Okay. All right, I don't know if we can talk about the height of the walls here, Curtis. We'll have to talk about that, separately, but Mr. Dunham will stay on top of the wall heights.
Yes, I mean.
And I'm particularly concerned because that last motion carried that comments that the grade outside the wall has to be as high as the grade inside the wall, and it looks like it's not gonna be that way. It looks like they're gonna fill in
Right.
the compound, inner compound of the wall, but I think that the right of way will just be whatever it is, and that's not gonna be fair.
That area, the right of way, if you will be the highest part of it, or I mean, that will be the lowest abutting grade.
Okay.
So we'll have to just, confirm the height.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anybody here in the meeting have any questions or comments? No? If not, could we have a motion to approve?
Yep. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to approve a level 2 architectural site plan based on finding an additional 1.5 feet of fill in the portion of the North Ocean Boulevard Overlay District, additional retaining walls within the North Ocean Boulevard Overlay District to create garden areas near the garage area and driveway. Amendments to the approved landscape plan to provide for the garden meets the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards with the following conditions. 1. Any minor modifications to the approved landscaping should be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modifications should be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval before commencement of landscaping.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? If not, Rita?
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Dougherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith? Mr. Roach?
Yes.
And Chairman Smith?
Yes. Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a fourth item on the agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob.
Oh, no. Oh, you made the Tom.
It was on our agenda at our last meeting. It was the application that Kerry Glickstein, Inc. is going to bring to the Architecture Review Board. I believe they're not prepared to present to us today, so we need a motion to defer. Is that what
Yes,
it would?
to the next
Okay.
meeting.
That's right, Chairman. So the town and our engineers actually met with Mr. Glickman's team yesterday to go over some of the final questions that we have. We believe that it will certainly be ready for the February meeting. And I know that at the January meeting, there were some comments about how the board members were interested in, because of the scope of the project, they would like to see it in advance. So we believe that you can contact Rita and make an appointment. We can go over those plans. That would not be ex parte communication. That would just be meeting with staff and asking questions. You would have to, however, do that on a one-on-one basis. A singular basis, not together, so you can ask questions of staff, and there not be any issues with sunshine violation. So we just encourage you to do that because it is a large project, and if you have questions, we feel like we are familiar enough with the project that we can probably answer those, or certainly our planner or one of our consultants could if it's a little bit more difficult of a question. So with that, if you have any questions, certainly we can entertain them. Otherwise, it would be a motion to defer this to the
February 25th.
February
25th. Okay. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to defer the application submitted by Kerry Glickstein, Inc., as described as item 4 on today's agenda, to the ARPB meeting of February 25, 2021.
Second. Second. Moved and seconded. Rita?
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Dougherty?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Roach? Chairman Smith?
Yes. Any items by staff to be brought to
No, sir.
the committee today? Item by board members?
Can I just ask, sorry, Tom.
Certainly, yes.
Can I just say, Greg, when you do get that meeting with the Delray engineer,
Yes, sir.
could you just let us know?
Yes.
You know, I know,
Obviously,
so it's a formal loop back of what the findings are.
I'll circle back with everybody.
Right, thank you.
I had to do that yesterday. on a, again, a construction site right now, people were concerned about where that finished floor was.
The elevation, yeah.
And I just so happened that the civil engineer on that project was part of our meeting yesterday with Mr. Blickstein. So we went up there and,
Oh, same civil.
yeah.
Was the foundation at the right level?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Seeing is not believing because, it's trying to figure out which way the road is going. And
Right.
naked eye, it's really hard to tell.
How much is it above the road?
It's
That one.
2.5, that
2.5?
one is 2.5 feet
Yeah.
above the road. The road at that point is at 4.5,
Mm.
and the finished floor elevation is at 7.
Would be at 7.
So you might want to drive by there to look and see what we're faced with these new FEMA maps, and especially out here in the core area where your roads are, I mean, that's the highest part of that road. I mean, you can go up north towards Old School, and the house that's being built,
I know.
you know all about it. And so theirs is gonna even look more dramatic.
Meaning when they elevate it.
Across from you.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And-
Lewis's.
Yeah.
And the news, I won't call it bad or good, but FEMA has been considering over the last year and a half, raising those once again.
Yeah.
The 7 feet up to
Correct.
8 or something.
7.5 or 8.
Wow, okay.
So, okay, public, no questions or comments? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, I just was gonna make a comment. Someone from the audience commented about, the wall interfering with the dunes. Well, the DEP from the state, all of these plans, anything below the coastal construction setback line, it has to have the approval of DEP. So
Right.
if this was gonna interfere with the dune, which is what DEP worries about,
Mhm.
they would have said something a long time ago.
Okay.
Mm.
And that the old coastal construction control line, which we use as the rear, property line for the houses out here, beyond that, that's all DEP jurisdiction. We don't get involved in that. So, but, Rita is correct, the current coastal construction control line is much westward of that, and so the DEP is aware of this.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
even control the height, because there are two coastal construction setback lines.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest one is down closer to the water. The newest one is farther west, the one that Greg was talking about. They even control the elevations and the materials that are used,
In between those.
in between them, which is the structure itself.
Yeah.
So they're really seeing that when before we are probably, because most likely the developer wants to make sure that he's not gonna have a fight with the state.
Right.
And of course, as you already know, all that fill that they have to bring in now for the houses out on everywhere, including the ocean, the fill for those, has to be approved by the DEP. And,
Even here and in the core, that still has to be approved?
No, because it's not beach,
Okay.
fill. So, and one house that's over here that, Mr. Marsh is working on, they had to truck theirs in from, the land.
Oh, my.
It's very expensive when they have to fill
Very-
anything by the beach.
Correct.
What are they looking for in the fill? What particular,
So that it
grassy
matches,
dirt?
the natural
Okay.
beach sand that's there.
So a lot of times when you see these beach renourishment projects going on, especially in Palm Beach, if you look out into the ocean, the way they do that is they set up way out into the ocean and they pump it all the way back in,
Yeah.
so that it's the correct kind of sand.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We are adjourned. see you in a month.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Tentatively, is everybody gonna be able to be in February?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm bringing my sandwiches for that meeting.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's probably some other things to be in that meeting too. It's more than just Bechstein at the next meeting. Is there some other stuff coming through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought so.
We will have a number of level 2 applications.
Yeah.
Have coffee in Danish.
Look, I mean, there are donuts out here.
Trying to stay away from those. I'm not gonna walk by those donuts.
So you won't be tempted.
What do this is the temporary, maybe removal of a tree, which we don't wanna do anyway now, because we're only gonna do this if we do this waterfront project. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I said that.
Bye-bye.
How about
Always nice to